Welcome everyone. Once again, I welcome all of you to this episode, first ever episode of techFLIX, which is exclusively brought to you by Qualcomm India. So, before getting into discussion with my guest for the day, Tasleem Arif, I would like to, take you through, talk a bit about 10 years of smartphone for all in India and why it is important. So it was June 2009 when India saw entry of Android-based smartphones, I would say through formal channels. Prior to that, there were smartphones available. iPhone was available in 2008 itself, and there were earlier formation of smartphones available in India. But it was only after Android smartphones in 2009 that a dream of everybody owning a smartphone, could be seen fructifying, and we could see everybody, at least owning or aspiring to own a smartphone. Now, this is how over a period of 10 years we have now reached close to 500 million smartphone users in India. And the journey continues. We are still growing with the smartphone base. Now, we are at an exciting time while we are, commemorating, celebrating these glorious 10 years. At the same time, we are at the cusp of so many evolving technologies which are further going to enhance the value of a smartphone for user and other stakeholders. This is exactly what we want to discuss in detail in today's techFLIX, wherein our subject expert, Tasleem Arif, would be discussing with me how some of these emerging technologies will get, so to say, blended with smartphone, which will further power our smartphones and bring in a lot many use cases for all of us. At the same time, we will also touch upon what this means for various stakeholders in the industry, so that as we know, we are expecting a lot of people joining across section of the industry, so that everybody is aware what kind of opportunities can be expected from the smartphone industry. Now, before I could request the team to join, let me introduce or share a bit more about Tasleem. While he's well known in the industry, but still I would like to talk a few points about him. Tasleem currently heads R&D at OPPO India. Now he has been instrumental in setting up OPPO India's R&D center, which is emerging as one of the strongest, I would say, R&D centers in India, not just in smartphones, but in the entire electronics landscape. Prior to OPPO, Tasleem was with Samsung India, where he has been responsible for so many innovations, and he also holds a good number of patents out there. In fact, he has been a key person around Samsung's Make for India innovations program, and I think he is continuing with a similar kind of assignment at OPPO. So can I request Tasleem to please join us onto the panel?
Hi, Faisal.
Hey, hi Tasleem. Welcome. Welcome to techFLIX. And it's a pleasure as well as honor having you here as the first guest of techFLIX. And we look forward to a very interesting interaction with you. And as briefly shared with you, we don't want techFLIX to be a similar kind of or a typical webinar per se. We want it to be an on-demand series of videos where people just engage with us, okay, and we don't run through a lot of presentations and try to explain things to them. Rather, we want to discuss things with them. And we are very welcome if anybody has any questions. They can send across questions to us. We are available on the chat. So chat is available for all the panelists, for all the analysts, and other kind of attendants out there. You can send in your questions to us. So Tasleem, starting with the first question. Oh, if you have to look at the journey so far, you have been with the industry for so many years. If you have to look at the journey so far, how would you, so to say, sum this journey? And at the same time, how do you find India different than probably rest of the world in terms of smartphones?
Okay. Yeah. First of all, thanks, Faisal, for inviting me in this techARC. It's really honored to be a part of this. And as for the journey of the smartphone, if you see, I was in this domain from last 15 years, when the 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G. So when the 1G was there, that was more on the audio side. When the 2G came in the picture, it was more audio and texting. And when 3G came in the picture, then it was audio, text, and data. And the 4G, then it is like more faster data than the 3G. So with the time and it's evolving, it's changing. That innovation is changing with the way the consumer is using the devices. So it's all about the learning that how they are using the devices, and from that basis, what are the bottleneck during that journey. We just try to identify those things, and the innovation is happening to just solve those bottlenecks. And today, when we are in the 5G generation, so here, if you see in the today generation, the major problem is the bandwidth. So this 5G is trying to solve that, up to some extent, try to solve that the bottleneck, and that gives freedom to the consumer, freedom to the smartphone user to use whatever the service they want. They no need to go to the TV for the entertainment. They don't need to go for buy the gaming devices for the game and all. So we can do all those things in their smartphone. The only bottleneck was the connectivity bandwidth, which I believe with the 5G, that problem will be resolved. And upcoming year, this will totally change all the innovation in this domain.
Okay, I think thanks for giving a very, very top level overview of how the journey has been so far and what we can expect going forward. Yes, as you rightly mentioned, I think 5G is a game changer. Is going to be a game changer, not just in smartphones, but I think across a lot of technologies. But yes, at the end of the day, smartphone is the default device which is in every hand. It is the digital interface, so a lot will rely on smartphone, how it can really help and enable newer technologies and these emerging technologies to the masses. Okay. Now, if I have to broadly talk about these emerging technologies, you briefly just touched upon 5G, but help us understand, because as I said, so in this episode we have people coming in from tech background, we have people coming from non-tech background, we also have people who are related to technology industry but are not primarily from smartphones. Okay, and that is what was the idea of setting up this techFLIX series. So there are people who are just focused around, say, machine learning. There are people who are focused around artificial intelligence. Okay, now each one of them wants to understand what kind of opportunities are there for them. Okay, now they understand at a very top level, broad level, what kind of opportunities are there, but that is one of the things which I would request you to share more details about. Second, we are fortunate enough to have some people from the government as well who are who have joined the today's episode. And since this will be on demand, so it will also be available post today's live session. I just wanted to understand from you. We will take these technologies one by one. Okay. So first, coming on to 5G. So what has 5G essentially for the ecosystem? If I look at it from, say, government, if I look at it exactly within the smartphone ecosystem, and then this allied and kind of auxiliary ecosystem to the smartphone industry. So what exactly 5G has in terms of opportunity? And I think then we will talk about the use cases which will come out of the 5G enabled smartphones.
Definitely. First, you talk about the AI, how the 5G is supporting the AI. So let me talk on that first. So AI is as good as how much sample data you have. And to connect the sample data is all dependent from how different input source you're getting those data. And to connect these different input source, you need the connectivity. So AI need different input source, and to connect these different input source, you need the connectivity. And 5G is filling that connectivity part. So with the 5G, now you can connect different kind of inputs, input source, and from those input source you get the data. With those data you do the sampling, and then you use it for the AI for your recommendation. So that way 5G is going to support in next few years to mature more our AI recommendation part.
Okay, so as you rightly put, yes, these technologies, I think we cannot look at them in isolation. And these are these are very, very, I would say, closely interlinked, and they are going to support and complement each other. So while yes, I want the structure of the discussion to be like, we talk about 5G, we talk about AI, we talk about machine learning. But at the end of the day, I think, all this gets integrated at one or the other point. And that is how we can, kind of see a real kind of proposition coming to the forth, which, has a lot of power for everyone.
Yeah, because the 5G is the thing which is solving the bottleneck which is required for the smartphone, for the communication, for the IoT, gaming, AR, VR. So at the end, 5G is, you can say, is a platform which provide to help these technology to be more mature.
Okay, so yes, point taken. We need definitely 5G kind of a technology at the networks, which will, I would say, enable that smooth flow of technology. And it's not just technology. There's a lot of data which needs to be processed, and even processed in real time. So all that needs to be kind of put together. And of course, we need 5G for that. I have one question coming in, but before that, I'll ask one more question to you. Now, this takes us to a fundamental problem if we look from India point of view. So while we are working on 5G, we have AI capabilities here, we have machine learning here. My question is, how do we solve the problem of connecting the data sets? Because ultimately we need a lot of data. That's what we call big data, and that's what ultimately needs to be computed and processed. The way we look at in India, we have right now data structured in different forms which do not connect to each other. So do you believe, we need to have some initiatives on that side as well? Because that will become one of the enablers wherein we can have all these data sets together, and ultimately we can have some very good algorithms which process them and unleash some real powerful things out of it.
Yeah, definitely. This is the next big challenge, that now we have the technology, now we have the connectivity, everything is on track. Now from different sources, now we have that data. Now how we are going to utilize that data in some constructive way? That is the next big challenge, which we are working on that. Now we have enough data from the different source we are getting. Now after the 5G, the input source will be more. So we will have the data in different contexts, but how to utilize that data and come up with something new, that will be the next big challenge, and I believe we will work on that.
Okay, great. So now I have first question coming in from Mukul Yudhvir Singh. He works with Electronics for You. So his question is very, I don't know how, it's a tricky question. I don't know how you would like to answer it. So he's asking, a lot of brands are equipping smartphones, smartphone cameras with AI and, machine learning, but image quality is still kind of far away from real. What one can probably see through a real eye. So can't AI and ML be used to capture the, that original thing?
If you see that we at the in OPPO for the first time in F5, we had launched the beauty mode that was more based on the AI concept, where we're trying to we had discussed with many all the expert of the photographic domain, and we try to come up with the algo so that we can give the output the best beauty picture of whatever the picture the consumer is taking from that. And that also we had given the optional, because we believe that it's again very subjective. Sometimes we believe that for some different country, different type of requirements are there. So we try to localize that stuff, because when we do AI, then as I mentioned, AI is as good as your sampling data. So different reason, they have different skin tone, and based on the skin tone, we try to optimize the algo for this beauty mode, like for our camera. So yeah, it's something which keep improving, and we will try to implement, and then we go to the consumer, take their feedback. And sometimes its feedback is not straightforward, the mixed feedback. So we try to take some middle path for that. And definitely AI is something, algo is something which need to keep improving. And we are getting this different feedback from the consumer, and we will try to improve it further.
So I hope Mukul must have got an elaborate answer to this, but probably we may never be able to replicate, nature. What is natural is natural. Technology can, at the best, reach near to that.
Yeah, exactly.
So Mukul, whatever you are witnessing through your real eye, we can at best try to kind of, reach near to that. Yeah. So, now I'd like to take you to another question, and I think we started already talking about it. So that's the AI. Okay. Now, one of the fortunate things, by the way, with smartphones is none of these technologies is emerging. They've already kind of crept into smartphones, and it would not be wrong to say that smartphones have become the default kind of device which introduces these emerging technologies to the market, to the people. That's something great about smartphones. Now, my question about AI is, we saw and we are seeing AI primarily coming in cameras, and then there is also a bit of AI used in power management. That's primarily these are the two areas where we find AI being used. Now, how is that going to change? Where we are probably going to see more intelligent, empowering use cases of a smartphone, where AI will play where AI has its play, and these use cases will be very, very beneficial for the people.
Definitely, the few things which we are internally working on, like recently we had launched in OPPO HyperBoost, that is more on the AI on the performance side, neither on the camera, not only in the battery, but on the system performance also. So in that, we try to understand the consumer behavior, which application, which resource, which process is using continuously, and so that we can give that resource on demand basis. So that improved the overall smartphone system performance also. So camera was the one thing, battery is the other thing which you talk, and the performance is the one thing which we are doing in our HyperBoost to improve our overall device performance. And at the same time, we are working on the gaming performance and all. And there are many services which are totally based on these AI. So soon you will see that we will come up with the new services which is totally based on the AI. That will help to improve the overall consumer experience.
Okay, so I would like to probably push you a bit more on this AI part, because I personally also feel we are not utilizing AI to the best. We are, yes, there are use cases. Camera has definitely a use case, or as you mentioned, kind of thing has a use case. But is that all that AI can do in a smartphone? And is that all what we are going to see in future also in terms of AI, empowering smartphones? So how are we going to probably, I know it's talking about future, and you may not be willing to talk about some of the things which you are doing internally, but still, share with the audience what kind of, AI-enabled special use cases we are expecting in a smartphone. Which areas of, so to say, smartphone usages will the AI kind of, better the experience. So, as a reference, so is AI going to, make our OTT experience, great now, or similar kind of,
So, see, AI can be used in all the vertical. The only earlier limitation, currently you are seeing on-device AI is more popular because there was a connectivity issue was there. So when we say on-device, then it gives little bit limitation on your AI parts because you cannot you cannot do the more calculation or you cannot keep more data on device. So for that, once this 5G will come in the picture, then this on-device AI problem will be resolved. Now we can do more thing on the cloud computing. Giving was the one example. If you see that this year in the MWC, when we had launched our 5G, we had showed the gaming experience, which was also based on the 5G plus the other resource improvement was there. So like this, there are different domains. There will be many services will be there. Currently we have lot of data, but we cannot do all this on-device AI because it has again limitation. So now we have that data. Now with the 5G, we have resolved that bottleneck of the connectivity. So all this together, now we can do the exact recommendation. We will tell the user, whenever user is traveling anywhere, we will know exact which place he is, what location is, and what kind of service is going to use in that one. So all this recommendation we can do on the smartphone. So in this year or next year, you will see a lot of innovation will happen on this, which was earlier was not possible because of on-device AI. But after this 5G and all, with the cloud computing, these things will be resolved, and you will see a lot of new innovation with using AI in these domains.
Great. Now, before I move on to other topic, I know we are talking about each. We have already started talking about them, but I would definitely want that we talk more and more kind of detail about it. So we have a question coming in, okay, and the question is about that. How are we going to ultimately find the right talent? So talent is something which everybody is raising, a concern around. So yes, government is working on the, skilling initiative, but I think, there is definitely scope for improvement. So what are your views around, availability of talent? You definitely are one of the, persons who keeps on hiring the right talent. So what is your view about, talent around these emerging technologies?
Yeah, definitely. In India, we are like, if you can say globally, we are leading on the software front. So, and the majorly, whichever R&D is opening here is more on the software, they are opening on the R&D part. So talent side, we have different set of requirement based on the work which we do. And then we try to put that different label of criteria of the skill. And then we try to find out which institute or which all domain people are, which all companies or kind of skill we need. And then we try to connect with those people, because everywhere we are doing, we publish that what kind of people we need. And then when the people come and they apply in that particular position, then we just try to get what are the skills they had work on, and at the same time, what are the things they had done in the past, which is something which is not assigned, but they had done the self-initiative. So these are the self-initiative part is the one thing which we give more weightage, because we believe when we need any skilled people, then we get 10 or 20 people when we need 1 or 2 people. But to select 1 or 2 people from 10 out of 10, we see that how much he is self-motivated in that particular domain. What are the things extra he had done in that skill is something which he had done, which was not assigned to them, but he had done with the self-initiative. So these things, self-motivation and self-initiative part is the major things when we consider when we try to recruit the people.
Great. And if I may like to add here, I think Tasleem, the future technologies, whatever we are talking about, the building blocks are more or less same, and that is what people coming in from institutions will more or less be equipped with. But then they will have to kind of unleash themselves, put themselves to probably to challenges, self challenge themselves, and within the organization. And I'm sure the organizations of the present, not of the future, are providing such kind of avenues and environments to people joining them, where they can definitely unleash all these kinds of skills which they might have.
Yeah, and the one thing which I want to put it here, the practical knowledge is very much important compared to the theoretical. So the one thing which I'm noticing that people are more on the theoretical knowledge, but now in the next year, coming year, the practical knowledge will be more given weightage. So now we need to be more on the practical stuff, and hands-on stuff need to be there if we want to go up in this domain.
Okay, now coming back to our main theme. So we have one more question from Mukul. So he's saying when we are talking about the smartphones of the future, so our reference point is obviously the present smartphones, and right now we are seeing things. One of the concerns across the industry is around innovation. There isn't much of innovation happening right now. It is more of incremental innovation happening. Now he has a question like we saw some of the brands coming up with their foldable say smartphones, for instance. So is that kind of innovation what we are expecting, or there is going to be in his words some real innovation which goes beyond making camera better or bigger, larger screens?
Actually, innovation is in two parts. One is the hardware and software. So that's why we need to do innovation both the same time. So both all this foldable screen or the pop-up camera, these are all the hardware innovation, which is good to make your smartphone more luxury or better. But at the same time, software innovation is also important, because at the end that improves the user experience. With the hardware innovation, you can look and feel of the device will improve, but with the software innovation, is the actual user experience will improve. So when we do innovation in our side, at least in OPPO, we take care of both parts. If we are doing any hardware innovation with pop-up camera, at the same time we do with the 10x zoom. If you're doing any hardware innovation with the VOOC SuperVOOC charger, so at the same time we try to do with the HyperBoost, which is pure software innovation. So we try to maintain the software and hardware innovation, because we believe with these two together is complementing each other, and that together only can improve the user experience. Even let's assume I give you the pop-up camera, but if with the software which is inside that camera is not better and all, then the final the user experience which consumer will feel will be not up to date. So altogether, both is required at the same time.
Okay, so we have one more question coming in. I want I want that we have these questions all along, because we are talking about these topics, so it's better we take questions at the same time. So this is a question from Ripan. Now the question is like, are we expecting these future smartphones acting as network connectors on their own, like a mesh network they will kind of build up? Now I know technically that is possible, but is that feasible? Because there may be battery issues and other issues. So what is your take on that?
Yeah, definitely. This is correct. Even now also people are using the smartphone as a connector. They're making it as a hotspot and connecting with the different devices. But I'm sure once the 5G will come in the picture, then whatever with the limitation of current system, like if you talk about the 6 limitation, the latency, connection density, efficiency, capacity, throughput, and the overall network efficiency. These are the 6 things which is lacking in the current 4G system, 4G or 3G ecosystem. So once the 5G will come, then it will improve these all 6 things. And then definitely once this thing will improve, then it will give the option for the different devices to connect. That will help for the IoT also. So with this, everything will move, give the platform for all this IoT, AR, and VR innovations.
Great. So, now moving on to more of, the back end of these emerging technologies. So we have one enabler as, for instance, e-learning. Okay. We did talk about it again, but just, I would like to kind of go deeper into it and, ask you, how is machine learning going to change my smartphone? I know a lot of it is already happening, but how are we going to see it enabling new kind of environment for a smartphone? As a perhaps reference, we could also talk about, say, voice computing. It's all kind of already enabled out there. But is there anything else we expect that machine learning will kind of enable specifically in smartphones?
Yeah, definitely. There are many things which is going on, and that voice is the something which is nowadays getting very popular. Now people are hardly using texting; most they are using the voice command. So in the same way, there are many entertainment services are there. So with the machine learning and all, we can just categorize the user behavior, what kind of service, what kind of video, what kind of music it like more. And then based on that proper recommendation of at what time you need what kind of service. So currently people are doing recommendation of service, but it's not matching with the time. So once we'll have more data, we'll apply more machine learning on that, then we will do this recommendation of services at the proper time. So this is the second depth of the recommendation will be there, which is more on the contextual base.
Okay, great. Now, I have one more question, which is around, one of the probably, interesting technologies which we are seeing around. It's about the extended reality, where, we see ultimately the line between, real life and a virtual life, kind of going away, and we experiencing technology. It's like we were living with the technology. Now with extended reality, we are like living in the technology. So that's very, very interesting, and we have seen already some use cases around it. Now, how is it going to change the smartphone, and what all could it mean, say, beyond gaming for a user of smartphone in future?
So these things will, again, earlier it was some limitation was there with because of a smartphone capability limitation was there. So now once this technology 5G and all will come, then these bottleneck will be also resolved. Then high computation you can do on the cloud computing part, because this all thing AR, VR, this more on the graphic computation also happen there. So with this 5G, whatever the current bottleneck is there, that will be resolved. So you will see the more use cases related to this extended AR VR side will become in the picture. Still few are there. Currently people are more on the gaming and all, but we believe that after the 5G, it will open more scope for the innovation in this domain, and then more useful use cases you will see around these part.
Yeah, I think that's an evolution we are yet to see, wherein all these kind of technologies have come up. We have seen some interesting use cases so far. Maybe they are not very high on productivity, we could say. But they are very exciting and engaging as of now. So yes, that's something I think will happen over a period of time. But I think the audience doesn't want me to ask you too many questions, so there are already two more questions for you. So one is, one is around, people are talking, essentially the smartphone industry is talking less about the security, which is very, very paramount. So what would be the security, scenario in future look like in terms of smartphones? And now this also, if I think you can also connect it with the blockchain, topic which we were going to talk about. These are kind of somewhere interlinked.
Yeah, definitely. This is security is the major concern in the smartphone. So now we try to encapsulate all the data, consumer data, and we try to keep more on the device side. And now, since third-party apps are very popular these days, and people are downloading many third-party apps, which unintentionally or intentionally is taking the data. So we are coming up with a separate layer to encapsulate where they cannot get that user data out. So these things, at least in the OPPO smartphone, we are working on, and we have very mature layer for that, where we believe that none of the user data get out from the devices. So that we have very strong layer architecture to solve that one, at least in this OPPO smartphone.
That's really interesting because while I know that all the or majority of the smartphone OEMs have been able to kind of tackle the situation of managing the user data which sits on a device, but the data which an app kind of interfaces with and takes, so to say, takes away. That was an area which was seen as kind of uncontrollable, essentially from the OEM part. So I think it's good to know that something like this is already getting prepared, and
And it's already there. Now it's already there in our devices, and we because this is the first thing, we don't want to compromise on that. So security is the first things where we give a more concentration, and we make sure that none of the user data go out from the device. So it's already there in all the devices, and we can say that OPPO smartphones are more secure compared to any other.
so I would like to probably touch more about it. So can you help us with, say, an example? So we have an app, say any of the popular apps. Okay, now how this works exactly, and the user data doesn't go away.
So normally what happened that if now there's many third-party apps are popular, so they create some background services. So even sometimes it's not running in the foreground, but they start some sticky services are in the background which keep running and try to get the data. So we created the sandbox, and where we don't allow other than the whatever the approved native apps which we had developed. Other than that, we created the sandboxing so that if any other app, even if it's the background service of that app, is going to take that data, we don't allow to access those data. So even whatever they with third party will try to implement with the background, or they sometimes they try to get the permission, and also we try to put some layer in that and keep checking that what kind of permission they are checking, and they are trying to get it. And if they are in the background, if it's still they're trying to get those data, so we have our own intelligence where we block those type of background services of the third party.
Okay, an interesting question around networks, and probably very pertinent to India. So, while we are adding another G, we are still unsure when we are shutting down the earliest form of G of the network. So we know we are kind of at the threshold of 5G, but we don't know when we are likely to kind of see 2G going off the networks. So the question is that, with this kind of scenario where we have all these Gs live in India, connectivity quality is still an issue. Okay, it is getting addressed, but we have to admit that yes, it is still an issue. So the question is like, dual SIMs played a critical role, in addressing this issue, and you have been, one of the key members, who kind of introduced dual SIMs into the market. So the question is, do you see this issue getting addressed in future, where technology by itself or intelligently, obviously using these emerging technologies, can seamlessly allow call connectivity on the same single, SIM, by kind of switching between the networks, or maybe, I think what he's referring to, allowing so the device itself can decipher which network is better, and just kind of goes on to that without people having multiple SIMs. But I think at the same time we have eSIM on the anvil.
Yeah, actually, there's a normal audio call which is work on the CS, and there's a data call which work on the PS. So there's a technological limitation also there in that 2G when we do the CS connection and all. But with this 5G, as I mentioned, because it's 5G will not only it will overall it will improve the performance. So like as I mentioned that it will, you can say it will reduce by 10x, decrease the latency. Whatever the latency currently is, it will reduce almost 10 times. And connection density, it will increase the 10 times. So there are many things which is the advantage of this 5G architecture. So definitely all this problem which you are talking about, call drop or latency and all, it will improve in the 5G. But yeah, 5G will take its own time until it gets mature and all. Still 2G will be there, 2G and 3G will be there. And as I mentioned that in normal or call in the 2G, which is based on the CS, so it has some its own limitation, and we believe, and we are closely working with the operators also, and also how to keep improving those stuff, because this is not on the hand in the hand of the smartphone. This is also more depend upon the network side, operator side also. So definitely, yeah, this is the one things which require keep improving in the India.
Okay, Tasleem, we know there have been issues around, say, fake messages being kind of spread, rumors being technology has both the sides. Now, while on the positive side, but there is a negative side of kind of these messages and other information being circulated and spread like anything. So we don't have a way to kind of really validate where from it's coming and all that. So with blockchain coming into the picture, do you see this getting resolved? So where we will have a more, I would say, traceable and trackable environment of messages and other kind of content, which will further kind of enhance the security aspect of the device?
Yeah, definitely. Blockchain is a good enabler to solve this kind of problem. But yes, still it's this very initial stage. There's different set of OEM, different brand, different vendors who are providing these kind of services, news and all. So they are working on this, and definitely a blockchain is gives you a technology. Using that, you can restrict that one. But yeah, it will take more time to get the exact mature solution to solve this problem.
Okay. Now, I have a couple of questions more for you, but again, a question from audience. So it's a very interesting question and a tricky one. So the question is, why are China-based brands very successful in every market they foray into? Is it because of affordability or technology or something else?
As OPPO, I can tell you that in OPPO, our main concentration is not on the business. Our main is how to improve the consumer experience. So for that, we keep doing the innovation, and we try to do the innovation, provide to the consumer in the more affordable price. So it's easy to do the innovation and giving the premium segment and mass where it's not affordable to the mass consumer. So the reason what I believe that why as OPPO we are getting more popular and not because we are doing continuously, we are doing innovation, and we are giving these innovation in the smartphone which is affordable to the Indian consumer. So if you say Super Vogue or if you say 10x zoom, if in last 2 years, whatever the latest innovation happened, we try to do that. All is done in the OPPO, and we try to give all those innovation in the most, sometime in the below, you can say mass segment, or sometime average premium segment, we try to give it. So that we believe that once user experience those software, user experience those innovation, then that will help them to believe in any brand or any smartphone. So the reason which I think that these companies are getting popular because they are doing innovation and providing and making it those innovation available to the consumer in more affordable prices. So that might be the one of the reason.
Okay, so one question coming from say emerging technologies and the manufacturing opportunity we have in India. Okay. So how do you see probably this emerging technologies or the set of technologies, how do you see it can probably play a role in taking our manufacturing of say smartphones to the next level? So what I'm probably referring to is in terms of having more of value add, domestic value add. So do you see these technologies playing a role in kind of increasing that domestic value?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Because since it's all dependent by the market, India is a big market, and with our government Make It India initiative, now the policies which are there, which are more favorable for the Indian business. So definitely now many companies, because India is a bigger market, so many companies are coming here, and the way our government had come with the Make in India policy and said, so it's where they are finding they're trying to start their manufacturing it here. So they are getting the market also and favorable government policies also. This together is helping to improve, or you can say it's growth in the manufacturing.
So my question was a bit different to this. So what I was referring to, we have a very rich software legacy in India. Okay. Now these emerging technologies, they are very, very, I would say, centric around software capabilities. So we need to have very good expertise in software, which fortunately we have as a nation. So is this kind of these set of emerging technologies becoming or going to be those key points which will help in the value addition in the making of a smartphone?
Yeah, definitely. These new things, because as you said, we as in the software, at least in the software globally, we are in India, we have the very good resource in this domain. So whenever any things happen in this domain with the new technology, then it gives the opportunity for the different companies to come in India and come up, open some R&D center. If you see, there are a lot of, in last 1 or 2 years, there are many new R&D setup is done in the India, and more of those R&D on the software side. And with the 5G, once the 5G comes in the picture, there definitely, again, it will give the more opportunity for the India R&Ds in different companies to set up their team here, because this 5G will be more around the software. So it will give more opportunity for the companies to set up more bigger R&D in India, which will definitely help overall the nation.
Okay, so one very quick question, and probably after that, we'll have a set of wrap-up questions, because I think we have just around 10 minutes left for the discussion. So among these emerging technologies, as I said, we have participants coming in specifically from these segments. So which area you would prescribe to them they should focus around? So in case of 5G, if a startup is just focused around 5G, so which is that big opportunity they should just focus around?
So I believe down the line, the services, because smartphone now has become a platform. And with the 5G, now it's given an opportunity for the services that you can think whatever services you want. Till now, it was like very limited services was there because of that bandwidth connectivity issue. But now you have the smartphone with the solved connectivity problem with the 5G. So the IoT and the services, these are the two things which I believe will still need to evolve more. So this will give more opportunity to think in this direction with the local services, because it's all dependent upon which market you're going to concentrate. If you're concentrating on the India market because it's very big, then you think about the services more on the entertainment side, because now people hardly using the TV. Everyone is in their smartphone only. And once the 5G will comes in India, then I'm sure that people will really will use this TV. So they will spend more and more time in the devices, and all the entertainments and content and all, they will consume in the smartphone only. So even whatever the current bandwidth or latency problem is there, which will be resolved after the 5G. So we need to think about the big rich services, IoT services, or somewhere in the gaming side also, because currently we believe that game, for if you have to play the rich game, then you need to have different set of hardware for that. But once this 5G is in the picture, then that problem is also resolved. So now you can think about the big graphical gaming platform or solutions also for the smartphone. So these are the three things: IoT, services, or something on the gaming side. These three are the major. Plus AI is always there. AI is always there, which will applicable with all these three also. So
So I believe, the services and other things which you mentioned. So this is going to be, true for not just 5G, for AI, for machine learning, for XR, and all kinds of these emerging technologies. So, now getting to one question, I have some more questions, but I don't think we'll have time to take that up. We'll try to take if we can take. But one of the questions I have is, now wearing the hat of an R&D guy, okay? So how are you seeing things changing from your perspective uh, when these emerging technologies are coming up? So how do you now go ahead with, say, partners, okay? And what exactly you look in partners other than, say, the technology, if they are able to provide? So when I say partners, I'm specifically referring to, the component vendors and other such, ecosystem players. So what are you exactly looking in them now to kind of, which you feel serves your purpose?
okay, so even in the partners also, we have a different category. One is the component partners. So definitely in the component partners, there are many different factors are there. First is how is their components are really compatible with the latest technology. And then again, the performance and many things comes in that picture. And the second factor is again, the how quickly, if any partner have any services which is really solving the consumer problem, then how quickly we do the partnership with them and provide and tightly couple with our devices and provide this service to the consumer experience, because at the end our job is to give the best user experience to our consumer. It can be in the component where the new technology comes in the picture, or it can be the services where the local partners come in the picture. So for that, recently we have signed MOU with different government also, already signed with Telangana government, and we are discussing with other government also. So for the second part, where we want that the locals, because we want to build the local ecosystem. So we are continuously identifying all the local vendors who are having the services which really improve the consumer experience, so that we can provide a smartphone as a platform for them and reach to the millions of consumers.
So if I sum up, it's quality. It's first of all, it's technology, it's quality, but then it's also about if that vendor or that partner has a roadmap to support your evolution of technology.
Correct.
Okay. I think we can have one last question. So the question is about how do you handle Android device fragmentation for quick updates?
This is the major feedback which we are getting from the market. So now, as we said that, as OPPO, we very closely work with our consumer. So now we recently we got a lot of feedback on this. So in last Renault launch, we had officially declared. Now we will come up with the OS upgrade with all our past previous devices, and also we will try to be the first mover to give the OS upgrade in all our new launch devices. So for that we have built the team, and since we have the vast experience in this domain, so we trying to identify which are the modules which we can integrate to make the upgrade full process very faster. So we are working on this, and soon you will see in all the OPPO devices will be the first mover to give the OS upgrade.
Okay, I think we are more or less done with the set of questions. We have taken most of the audience questions, but I'm sorry, there are still some questions left. We'll try to take them offline, and we'll try our best to have them answered from Tasleem. Tasleem, just to wrap up, to sum up, like, what do you see the next 10 years or the next decade of smartphones look like? And what should a user kind of really be excited about the next 10 years of smartphone?
So I believe in the next 10 years, people will not use any other devices, only the smartphone device will be there. And whatever content or whatever the service they are consuming, they will consume with this service. And lot of things, still the IoT is there, but we still very useful use case is still not cracked. So I believe in upcoming years, this IoT part will be more mature. We'll have more innovation in this domain, and which will really solve the actual consumer use cases. And at the same time, the gaming, which I believe is still is not in the limitation of the graphic computation and all, which will improve. and again the AR VR. So IoT, gaming, and AR VR is the majorly the 3-4 items which I think it will in next 10 years it will evolve and it will mature more.
Okay, thanks a lot, Tasleem, for being here and sharing your deep insights and perspectives around these technologies. Unfortunately, I cannot shake hands, right? Technology hasn't enabled that. Maybe the future XR enabled kind of, platform allows us to do that. I would like to thank you for being with us today. As we had, announced, so you have to, choose the best question which you found, because the winner will get a gift from Gizmo India. So any interesting question you found so far?
Yeah, definitely. There are a lot of all questions are more very interesting. The one which is more near to our whatever currently we are doing is the OS upgrade, because
Okay.
many people are asking, and I know that people are feeling bad of that. So with this, I believe that one we can give that.
So Ganesh wins the prize from Gizmo. Congratulations, Ganesh. Our team will get in touch with you. Thanks a lot, Tasleem, for being with us today. I would also like to thank our sponsors, Qualcomm India, who facilitated all this and wanted that we talk about not just the journey of smartphones so far, but we also talk about how the future of smartphones would look like, and that's why we started with this topic to begin with. We are also thankful to other supporting partners like Broadband India Forum, Gizmo, and Commune. I'm thankful to each and everyone who joined us today. We had an exciting, a list of people coming from all walks, all different, backgrounds. We will be shortly connecting with all of you for some more exciting stuff around 10 years of smartphone for all. With this, we would like to conclude today's session. So till we meet next time, thanks a lot. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.